one example with APIs, how we can work with complex data. Have you tried that example? Able to achieve that? So fake store API, one example I showed you. You have to try that example. So based on this, we can design a lot of other concepts later. Yesterday's our main concept was to understand how we can work with fetch promise. What is fetch promise? It is used to communicate with API, get the data from API and return. So some events also you learned here, like when user changes any category, the category related products will come. User can add any category into list. You can display that here. Later, we will add removing items and others. For that, we need to learn subcore topics. All this we discussed under the concept of data types. So you have learned about non-primitive types. In non-primitive types, array and object. And we saw how to deal with array of objects. But one more important, you should know that object is not only data, object can contain methods. It can contain methods. Object can contain methods. You have seen object only with data. That means actually object comprises of related data and logic. Data is defined in property and logic in function. So that means we have where some objects are defined in a block. In this, we can have a property. Property usually have a value, and we can have a method. Method is actually a function which can do some functionality. In previous examples, the object that you learned, it contains only data. All objects that you saw up to now, APIs related, all have only data. They don't have any logic. They have only data. So if we have data and logic, then actually you should know that whenever you are dealing with object related data, object related properties and methods are accessed within object by using this keyword. We have to use this by using this keyword. So you can access outside by using object name, but within object we have to use this keyword. So I will show you that here. Suppose object can contain properties and methods, means here I will add one option, new file object.html. Yeah, in the script here we are defining a simple option like where product is an object. In this object it have name, it is a property, some name, and we have price is also a property, and we have quantity. Quantity is also a property, and we have total. Total is a function. Is a function. That means object can contain not only just data, it can contain methods. That means the logic is defined in a function. What this function have to do? It should return quantity into price. Then we will use return. It should return quantity. How to access quantity of product? We are trying to access within the same object. Then we have to use this dot quantity. Within the object, if you are trying to access its properties and methods, then we have to use the keyword this. And into this dot price. That is how we can define. Similarly, there can be any number of methods. We have print. Print is a function, and this function should print all details. So we will use document.write. We have like name, and we will use this dot name again. Again, we want to print price. So this dot price, right? And we need next line some quantity, and this dot quantity. And in the next line, we have total. Total is a function. This dot total, you have to write like a method. That is how we need to define. That is accessing the data and define. Now we want to print all the details of product. Then we can simply access product.print method. It is going to print all details. So inside object, you can access by using this keyword. Outside the object, we have to access with object reference. Now it is going to work in the same way. Here it is printing all the details. It is printing all the details. So object can have both properties and methods. All these days, we have seen object with only properties. That is what JSON is. JSON is not about functionality. Understood? So JSON is about data. It is about data. That means you cannot have a functionality. It is about data. This point is important. So here last session we created one JSON file in data folder. So in the data folder we have products JSON. Here I am defining quantity. It's a number, and I am defining total. Total is a function. I am writing a function here, and it is not valid. You can see it is not valid. A value expected in JSON. It is not expected to have a function. So JSON is about only data, no logic. But object is not just only data. Object contains both data as well as logic. Data and logic. So what is the advantage of this is you can reuse. You can reuse. That means here I just entered some standard details. What we can do, we can keep all these empty. We can keep all these empty 0. This is 0. And here we can accept through the prompt. That means we have, so product dot name is equal to prompt. prompt and say enter name. Similarly, product dot price and prompt. So we have enter price. So we will convert that into number. So parse float, because it may have decimal places. If no decimal places, you can use parse int. So that we will do for product dot quantity. Parse int prompt, and we will say enter quantity. And here we have, that's it. All these details are enough. It will print the details. Now this time, so we are accessing here. That means we can use this some Samsung TV. We have price. So we have quantity, and it will print the details. We can reuse an object. We can reuse an object across the request. The main purpose is reusability. So this is an object with the data and logic. Object with the data and logic. I will show you one more point here. Let's put an example here. Okay. Let's see another example here. So adding some doc type. Yeah. And here I'm just defining some handling object. Just I will give object demo. Fine. Let's link relation style sheet, and href is equal to node modules, bootstrap icons CSS, relation style sheet, href node modules, bootstrap dist CSS, bootstrap.css. So let's add here container fluid. Yeah. And here I am defining a simple button here. Let's add a button here, some register product, and add some product data list, data term, some name, and the text box. Input type is text. I will create simple. You can add any number of details. Data definition, it is input type is equal to text. So this is having ID as txt name, and this is having ID as txt price. Now I clicked on button, so register, or say, yeah, I'll just put here, instead of register, add new product. So add product button. Okay, this is a simple design, class btn primary. This is the design we have. Now below this, when user clicks on add product after entering the details, I need to create a table. In the table, all the records must be added one by one. That means we are creating a registration form into which user can add the data. So below this, I will put a HR, horizontal line, and here I will create a table. So T head and T body, TR, TH, this is name, and this is price. Okay, then we have T body. So this is empty. Fine. Now we have the class table and table hover. This is basic design. Okay. Now what we have to do whenever user enters the details, so we need to collect the details and add into table. Then how do we do that? So first we need an array. because we have to maintain multiple records. So let's go to script. In the script, we will create var some products. It is an array, empty array. There is nothing. Now this array is empty. Into this, we can have by default some data, or you can add everything newly. So I keep this empty. These products must be loaded into this table. We don't have products, but later they will have. So we will create a function load products. This load products function will read every product from the table and add. So, but we don't have, we have empty, right? For var item of collection is products. For every item, we need to create a row, document dot create element tr. We need to create two cells. One is for name, document create element td. There is no other shortcut. You have to do this compulsory every time, right? Price, document create element td. Okay. Now td name dot inner html, it will have item dot name. td price dot inner html, we will have item dot price. Like this we have. Now these must be added into tr dot append child, and we need to add td name, tr dot append child td price, and we need this row to add into document query selector tbody into tbody dot append child tr. That's done. This is load product. Now into this products array, we need to add a product, and every product is an object. So I am creating a product object. This object contains name, which is empty. It contains price, which is number. So we initialized some default. So this is the object which contains name and price. Now what we have to do is, when user clicks on add button, add product button, we need to collect the details from this, and we need to add that into this array. Then how do we manage that? Actually, we have to create a function. Function is add click. Add click function should fire up when user clicks on this add button on click. On click is equal to add click. Now on add click, we have to collect and store. Here, see now, simple directly, there is a object called product. This product object is expecting name. Into name, we need to collect document get element by id txt name dot value. That means whatever name you entered in text box, we collect it and store in this object. And price is document, we have to convert parse int, parse float, document dot get element by id txt price dot value. We have to store that inside this product. This is product. That means product is an object which will collect the name and price. After collecting the name and price from the text boxes, we have to add this product into array. That means what we have to do, products dot push into, because products is an empty array. It is an empty array. Into that we have to push the product that you created. That means we are reusing this every time now. We are reusing this, and I will put an alert saying that product added to added. So after that, we need to load the products. That means we have to call the function load products. After that, we need to clean up the previous data in text boxes. So document dot get element by id txt name dot value should be empty. Then document dot get element by id txt price dot value also empty. We need to clean up the data. That is done, right? So now you can see here, I am adding the product name, some Nike casuals, and we have the some price, and click on add product added. Okay, it will come here. We are adding another, some Samsung TV, some price. So, and add product, and okay, that is added double times. You know how to clean up, right? How to clean up every time when you are adding, when you are loading, clean up the body. Document dot query selector t body dot inner html, you have to keep it empty. That is best. So here I entered some Nike casuals. Okay, I entered some details. Add product, that is added. I'm adding some another Nike Samsung TV, some price, and click on add product. It will add that into that. So we can create here some data. Suppose I say some watch and some price, and I click on add product. Now that is added into that list. That is how we can manage the data. So that means here we are using an array, here we are using an object, but completely empty. Why? What is the purpose of an empty object you created? Reusability. That means every time when I have to add the details of product, I will use the product object. Whenever I want to access the details of product, I will use the product object. We are reusing it. So the main concept of object is to keep all the data together and reuse. That is one concept. So here, suppose I want to add a functionality like some delete. Suppose I want to remove any product, then how do you manage that? Let's see. So here at the heading in the table, I will put another th action. And what I will do is in the last cell, here this is append child. I will create another cell where td, suppose delete, document dot create element td. Okay, so td delete dot inner html. Here we will put a button, and button will have a class. So btn and btn danger, and the button will have some text as a class. So bi and bi trash fill, and that is the delete. This delete must be added after price. tr dot append child. Append child, what is it? td delete. It should be added. Now you can see here I am adding some Nike casuals, and here some price, and click on add product. Added successfully. The delete button comes. So we are adding the details, some TV, some price. So add product, then it is added here. That means it is generated for every product. For every product it is generated. So delete button is generated. Now we need to implement this functionality. That means when user clicks the delete button, that record must be deleted. Then how do we get that information? How to implement the functionality? On delete button click, how to collect the details of this product? So we have to write here, for delete button, we have to define on click is delete click. On delete click, I am using dollar. I am sending item. Item is nothing but it is an object actually which contains name and price. That means you are sending complete object. So you can send any one detail. Only one detail you can send. Only one detail, like you can send any detail like only name or only price. Or generally any product uniquely, if I have to identify, we can use an ID for product, a unique reference. Here it's okay. What we will do is this item dot name I will send. So that means on delete click, so we will write a function delete click. We have to collect the name. Whatever name they passed, it will be stored inside that. I will just test alert name, means is it coming correctly or not, we will verify. So let's see. I added some TV, some price, add product, and I said some mobile, so some price, add product. Now I click on delete, then it should get that information here on click. What is it? On click of the button, where is it? Will inspect any error. Price, okay. Not defined, that's okay. Actually it is collecting the data, it is accessing this data. What is the data is coming? So SSD data is here. Here we are sending that item related details here. Only the point is it is saying that it is unable to find it, right? It is unable to find it. So SSD is not defined, right? So why SSD is not defined? Because you see the alert is working fine. I will remove this. Here I will use delete click alert. I will just put alert and I will just give the name as clicked. Okay, right. That means just to verify whether the value is firing up or not. So delete, it's working fine. Now what we have to do is when user clicks the delete button, this item information must be sent. So here there are so many techniques, but if you send item information, problem is item name can be same, item price can be same, then we have a conflict here. Then how do we send the information? That means you see here, I am trying to access here on delete click. So on delete click, I want to send the complete item here, dollar. We can just send the item. Now we will first receive that item here. On delete click, we are expecting an item. Am I right? We are expecting the item. We will refer what that item is returning. What that item is returning. I will use a console log. So before implementing, always test first data is coming or not, right? Now you see here we have data entered and some price entered, add product added. You can see here when I click on delete, so you can see identifier reference error is there. Reference error is nothing but, so it is unable to access the reference. Reference means it is unable to access this item. Now here, how we can send information about that item? Actually, you haven't learned any concept of, you haven't learned any concept of events. Later you will learn. Usually we call as event binding. In event binding, actually what we do is, later I will detail it. We cannot send this information. Actually, this event is having or two arguments will be there. One is event have an argument called this. Just now you saw this is related to current object. Already just now you saw current object related properties, how we can access by using this. That means this button have an ID. Suppose button is having an ID. This button, or it is having a value, or it is having a name. This button name will be that item dot name. That means whatever item name is there, that item name will be stored as button name. And when user clicks the button delete, what will happen is this is going to send all details about button. This is going to send all details about button, means button ID, button name, button class, everything you can access by using this. So this is what, this is an object. That means actually here we have to collect that object. And here I am temporarily printing that object. Complete object I am printing. On delete click. Observe now here. I am entering some details, some price, okay. And I click on delete. So it is showing expected object. Actually, this object contains a property. What is the property we are using? Value, or we are using name. That means actually this object is nothing but this object name is coming. These are called as event arguments. You haven't learnt about this. So better we will implement these only when we learn about events, right? That is too much early to discuss about this. Actually, every element have two options. One is this, another one we have an event. Later we will learn about them. So we will not touch this. That means don't try to implement this delete action as of now. In the next level, we will see after learning about events, right? I just created a button. Later we will implement the functionality, right? Because it is completely confusion for anybody who never learned about event handling, right? And we haven't learned about event handling. We are just using only events here and there. When we learn completely about event handling, you will learn how to pass the data to event and how to collect the data from event and use it. That we will discuss in separate session. Okay. I just created an option. We have TV, we have price, and it is added here. Later we will implement here, because not only this delete button, in future we have to add several buttons here. I will copy here another button here. So this is BTN success. So success, and here actually this is edit click. So, and here we will have an option as so some edit option is, so BI, I hope we have an option like pen or something, right? And you see, generally we added some details and price, and it will add one more option like this. We need to implement this functionality. We have delete, we have edit, and we have another option like details actually. So I will use here btn suppose info, and here I will write as that is details click, and here we will use BII, and I am adding some details, name and price, and I click add product added, it will display these details. When I click on edit, it should open the details in edit mode so that I can do modification and update. When I click on details, it will just show the details. And when I click on delete, it will remove the details. But this we can handle only through a concept called event handle that I will discuss in the next levels. So we will just only design object array. Only these things we will see as of now. This is regularly asked in every fresher level interviews, practical test. That means in every fresher level practical test, they will give these kind of tasks. And one more extra thing they will do is they will say that data you don't need to design, data is already in our API, use it. That means they will give you an API URL, there all the data will be there. And they will ask you to design CRUD operations on data. CRUD operation means create, read, update, delete. In every technology for fresher, this is a common task. Even you learn Java, .NET, PHP, Python, anywhere in web technologies, you go to practical tests level, then they will give you this task. They will say that we have data, we have API, and create this screen for inserting records, updating records, deleting. And this is enough. If a developer can do this, select it. Right? A fresher can do all these things with good interface, then select it 100%. Because that is what actually we need to do in all real world projects, reading the data, inserting, updating, deleting. Currently, we are doing with some hard coded data. Later, we will do with others, right? Initial, this is the basic point, right? I hope you understood this, how to configure and define, right? Later, we will implement the functionality of this. Here, the main concept is how to reuse object. This is another example. Adding records into table dynamically. How do we add record into table dynamically? This is example. This is all about object and arrays. Now, another important in the data type, we have map type. Another important, we have a map type. So map type is new from ES5 higher version. That means from JavaScript ES5 version onwards, that means it is ECMA script 2015. 2015. From ECMA 2015 ES5 onwards of JavaScript, map is a new concept. So map is similar to object with key and value. With key and value. Object also key value, map is also key value. Then obviously the question asked, what is difference between object and map? The difference here is very important. Here you need to know is actually map can have keys of any type. Map can have keys of any type, whereas in object key must be only string type. In object key is only string type. Map can have a key of any type. Key of any type. Before this, I have to tell you one more. If anybody asked you a question like how to read all properties of object, how many properties are there in the object, how to read all of them? Already we learned array concept. In array, we learned how to read all the properties. So suppose you see how to read all the properties, because when you are working with an object, how do we know? So data.html. How do we know what properties that object contains? Because object is coming from some place. Suppose I am using fetch. So I am fetching http colon fake store api.com slash products slash one, and dot, then it will use a callback function. It will get the response and return response dot json, and it will have dot, then it will have a callback function. It will collect the data, and I want to know what properties the data contains. Properties means what keys it contains. We want to know. That means ID, name, price, what keys it contains. Because when you are working with any remote data, without knowing the data, you can't work with it first. That means majority of situations, you will not work on the data that you designed. If you have to work on the data you designed, you know about it. But remotely data comes. Then how do we know what it contains? Then we have to use a simple technique for where property in object, that is data. We can use in operator to read every property from the object, and we will print that document.write. We will print the property. So I will put a line break. That means we are printing the property. This is fetch method. So the fetch method have to fetch all the properties and display. This is very important, because a developer will never work with the same data what he designed every time. Sometimes he don't know even what from where data comes. He will just know the URL. Then how do we first know what it contains? That means how do we know that product have item, ID, name, price? We have to write logic. Every time you cannot go to, suppose if you have seen NASA data, it was very complex. Examining the data itself wastes your time. By seeing it itself, where which object is there, it will take time. So that is the reason. So we use these kind of techniques. Here, how do we know? So not only that, how do we read all the properties of data? So by using for in iterator. By using for in iterator. Not only properties, another important challenge for developer is we need to know what type it is. While reading, no problem. But later when you design a form, through the form you are sending the data, you should know what type of data it is accepting. That means it is not only the data, you have to know the its type. Actually, how to know the type? That means another question here is, so how to know about the data type? How to know about data type of every property? For that, actually JavaScript have an operator. By using type of, we can use type of operator. That means I used it to show you the type of array properties. That means here type of, we need the type of the value stored in that property. That is important here. If you read type of property, it will be always string only. That means what we have to do here, I will use a binding expression. Yeah, in the binding expression, first I will print here property. Okay. After that, I will put a hyphen. Yeah. And here I will put in a square brace. I am writing another expression. Here I am using data of property. Data of property. This is a new technique introduced into JavaScript for reading the data present in any property of object. That means previously I showed you here. Let me show you here how to access the product name. To access the product name, we have to use product dot name. Am I right? But you can use product of name to access its name. This is the new technique of reading the data from any particular property. That means this allows you to read the name stored in that particular property. That means what name is present, you can store like this, you can access like this, or you can access in this way. This is new in JavaScript. In JavaScript latest versions, object allows you to read through its properties using a property binding technique. So this is allowing. So that means now see, I will put a BR line break. Then it is going to print all the values and their properties values. That means it is the property and it is the value inside that property. It is the value inside that property. But I don't want value. I want its type. Then what we have to do is we have to just write here type of data property. Type of operator is going to return its data type. Type of is going to return its data type. That means it is going to display here ID, title, name, what's data type they are, it will display. That means this is an ID, this is an title, this is a price, this is description. It is going to display this, right? Now that is how we can read information about every data coming. It's very important because without knowing its type, we cannot handle, right? So this is one important concept. So before going to map, some more points are there about object. This is example how we can read all the properties and their data type. So you are working any API, actually any API. For example, I need to just replace this API now. Suppose it is NASA, okay? API.NASA. Okay, this is actually URL. I will copy this URL. Okay, and here in the logic, I will paste this URL. This is URL. This is actually array. That means we are reading array. This is array. From array, we are reading property means it will return 1, 2, 3, 4 actually. Already we know that. So this is data dot what product photos, na? Because NASA API returning object contains one photos. In that photos, we have of 1, photos of 0. That means it will get the first photo. First photo related information it have to collect. It should get the first photo related information it is defined. And you can see it is returning. So data dot photos, data dot photos, that is property. Data dot photos. This is different again. What is it? Actually, here we have to write type of data dot photos of 0. Okay. So type of all of them will come. We'll do one by one, right? Okay, all of them are defined. How to read it? Every property is an object. Then we have to define the collection. So actually, better we store this in one variable, huh? Because this is one object. OBJ is equal to this one. Huh? This OBJ we are using. and I can use obj of property. It is getting all the details, and you have to just use operator. What is it? Type of. That means it returns the data type of that and display. That means ID is a number, sol is a number, camera is an object, image is an string, earth date is a string, rover is an object. That means it is going to present information about it. Because it is an array, I have accessed only one out of it and I am using it. That is 0 means it will access the first one, right? This is how we can access the data and understand the data. Now, another important is there while working with objects and data, multi-level hierarchies will be there. Presenting multi-level hierarchy is also a challenging one for developers, because data, if it is in an array, another array, in that array, another array, then lot of internal loops we have to create. For example, I will show you. That means, for example, complexity will come like this. Suppose where, suppose we have categories, menu, I am giving menu. In the menu, because we will add into UI, I will do like this. I am creating here some nested, okay, nested iterations. Okay, so here we have some data script, we have some data menu. Menu contains array, array is an object, this object contains category, category is electronics, in that it have products, products is again array, in that we have some TV, we have mobile. Now I need another category, this is some footwear, and we have products, products is again array, so this is Nike, so and some Lee boot, something like this. Now I need to present this in the UI. We have an ordered list. Suppose I am creating here categories, and we have an ordered list. Into ordered list I need to generate. Now how I want to generate this? So how I want to generate this is nothing but actually, how I need to generate this is nothing but actually, I want number one is electronics, and in that A is TV, in that B is mobile, and I have 2 as footwear, in that we have A as some Nike. Like this I want. This is nested list. Nested list. Now how do you create such nested list? This is something challenging for developers. This is simple data only, more complex will come actually. Suppose you see, now I am writing on load, body load. On body load, we will write a function body load. And in the body load, I am reading for where item of menu. That means I am reading every item from menu. Every item in contains category and products. Now category must be added. You see where list item document dot create element list item, and I will add li dot inner html is equal to item dot category. Item dot category, it will add the category, and add this document dot query selector into OL, into ordered list append child li. List item is added. Now you can see the list item is added into it. So I will run this here, electronics footwear. Now what should happen is, under this, again, array is there. You can see that every item have two options. One is category, another one products. Products is again array. Products is again array. So here, what we have to do is, we have to create another for inside it. This time we have to access for where I cannot use item anymore because item is already used. I have to use product of item. Item is every item dot it have products, which is an array. That means we have a parent array. In that, this is child array. Now for every product inside item dot products, again we have to create a inner li, or I will create here. First, we need to create an unordered list. I am using ul document dot create element, that is ul unordered list. Into that, we have to create a ul li. You cannot use same names again, right? That is the reason. ui li is document dot create element. It is another list item. What we have to do is, the ul list item dot inner html, it should have product details. Product should be added. This unordered list item must be added into unordered list. That means ul dot append child. What to append? Unordered list item. And this unordered list must be added to list item, parent list item. That means li dot append child. We have to add unordered list. Now this makes sense. Nested. So this is complex. That means creating an iteration inside another iteration. So this kind of complex data will come in future. That's the reason I said that yesterday what you saw is a very simple thing actually, right? So if you take real-time government data will be there, government websites data will be like Aadhaar cards and all. So one record contains more than 200 fields, and every field again contains so many hierarchies. That means it will take 3-4 days time to understand data first, right? What data it is, where it is very complex, right? So because this is simple, this is nothing much complex, but more complex data understanding is difficult first. If you correctly can classify what is the parent, what is the child, now we have to map to HTML correctly. Which element to create, which element to append, where to append. That is the reason I told you, if you take HTML as light, then you can't handle JavaScript, right? The person who don't know how to create a nested list in HTML, how he will create a dynamic list? That means first you should know which element should be created. Into that element, another what should be the child element. The hierarchies are important. Now tell me, can I create such list in a drop down? Can I show such list in a drop down? Will drop down have nested drop downs? Can I show like this in a drop down? We can. You remembered we learned OPT group. Remembered? It is possible to do this in a drop down also. We have used OPT group. OPT group. For example, see, if I have to do this in a drop down, that means here I say select category, and we have a select here. Into this drop down we need to add. So first what we have to create at first level, we have to create an OPT group. And first we have to create an OPT group. That means document dot create element. Create element is OPT group. Now what OPT group contains? OPT group dot not inner HTML. OPT group have a label. OPT group have a label. In the label, item dot category, and add this OPT group into document dot query selector. Query selector. So query selector, add this OPT group into, so the list item into select na, into select dot append child. That OPT group is added into it. That means now drop down, actually the drop down contains those two labels. That is OPT group. In every option group, again we need to generate a product. Here what we have to do inside this now, for what we have to create an option. Document dot create element. What is, we have to create option. We have to create an option. This option contains option dot text. It contains item, product, right? This option dot value, it contains product. This option must be added to OPT group. Option group dot append child. Into that we have to add the option. That means now you can see the option is added into it. So we have a nested list here. We can design such list in a drop down also. For that, first you should know drop down perfectly. What drop down contains, what attribute it contains. Then only you can add, right? So as I already told you, many people are interested in learning advanced. That means when we start HTML, they will ask when JavaScript will start. I started JavaScript, then they will ask when Ajax you will tell. I finished Ajax, then you will ask when backend you will start, right? But you check your status. Up to this, you are perfect or not. Otherwise, no use. I will start everything level by level, but you should be perfect with what you have learned up to now. You need to know about that. So these are very important for handling data. Here we have learned nested. That means inside iteration, how it can happen. This kind of data we will see dynamically handling in later stage also. I will give this as an example. You try it. Right? This is example for nested, nested iterations. Nested iterations, this. Within iteration, another iteration, how to handle. These kind of details we will see with more examples in later. Tomorrow we'll do. Right? Tomorrow we will discuss about other data types, maps and all. Okay. I will give off on this Saturday to practice all these. Right? You have to practice all these. Then I can go fast now into the other topics. Right? Otherwise it will delay. If you don't practice, you can't understand next levels. So tomorrow we will continue. Tomorrow we will see other options. Okay. Right.